everybody. My name is Dr. Lindsay Coble.
Dr. Noelle Crosby, and we're the Sound Sisters, and this is the Hearing Diaries.
And today we're joined by Dr. Dusty Jessen, an audiologist and the creator of Five Keys, a practical framework that helps patients and families communicate better and live better with hearing loss. She's also a clinical leader, an educator, and a champion for realistic, usable tools in the real world. And plot twist, when she wanted a reset in her own life, she swapped wine o'clock for the weight room and trained for a lifting competition. Dusty, welcome to Sound Sisters.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome, Dusty. Let's just
Thanks.
start off with a little bit about, just tell us a little bit about your own clinic.
Okay. Yeah, I have a private practice in Littleton, Colorado. It's small. I have a hearing instrument specialist who works for me, and then we have a patient care coordinator who works remotely for us. She lives in Phoenix, and that's been working out really great. And then in June, I just purchased my second practice from actually a friend of mine who didn't want to be a practice owner anymore. So now I have two practices. That one is in Arvada, which is about 40 miles from my original practice. And so I'm learning the ins and outs of being a multiple practice owner. And we just hired in June a full-time audiologist also. So that's my first time having a full-time employee. So we're expanding. It's been a very exciting summer.
Good for you. How exciting. Location number two.
Yeah. Oh, and I remember Dusty from when she just first started, and she was just very, very small. She wasn't really there full time. And she didn't even have a front office person for a while. She just had everything done remotely. And so she's really grown a lot over the last couple of years. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. So cool and efficient, very efficient in your practice management.
She's a very efficient thinker.
Love that. Okay, our next question, Dusty. When you opened your clinic, what problem in hearing care were you determined to solve?
Yeah, I really just wanted to be the person that could take more time with their patients because I started an ENT clinic for 15 years and I felt always rushed. I had to rush through my visits, rush through my fitting, rush through the counseling. And so I swore that when I had my own practice, I would slow down and take the 2 hours that I needed with a patient so they felt like we could spend the time that we needed to answer the questions and really connect.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Are you finding that you're still able to do that with doing everything else that you're doing?
It's definitely more of a challenge as we get busier, but it is getting easier as we start using block scheduling and that kind of thing.
Right.
Wonderful. All things that I think we learn as we go. I feel like I'm, 2.5 years in learning. I also don't like to work fast. I like to take time with my patients. And so I'm also definitely looking at my schedule and block scheduling. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. It's funny because I hear some of my friends, like they do full testing, hearing aid evaluation, and they may even do same day fitting in like an hour. And I'd be like, I need my 2 hours and I'm still probably going to be running behind. I'm just not a speedy person when it comes to that.
I know. And I think
glad I have my own office.
I know. I think everyone's different, but like I came from an ENT clinic too. And I'm like, working fast is just not how my brain works. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, even if your brain works that way, often the patient's brain doesn't, and you've got to kind of meet them where they're at too. So
totally.
Sure. Well, let's talk about your 5 keys because this is a program that's been around for a while. You've put a lot of time and energy in it, and you keep changing it and making it better. So just tell us a little bit about what sparked the creation of the 5 keys. Why did you design it and develop it?
Yeah, well, it was when I was in the ENT clinic and I was feeling so rushed, and patients were expecting miracles from their hearing aids. And of course, they don't get miracles from their hearing aids. And so I just didn't feel like I had enough clinic time to sufficiently educate them about expectations and communication strategies. And so I was putting together handouts and, photocopied handouts are just not all that exciting. And so that was when luckily I was in a networking group and I had access to designers and, people that new things that I didn't know. And so I had help in putting together the Five Keys handbook. So that was back in 2013.
Mm.
And it was just a more like user-friendly, fun way of presenting the materials instead of just handouts in a folder. Um, and that was the beginning of it. But then, like you said, it is expanded into um, from the book to an email program, we call it the online program, and then to a mobile app. So as clinicians are asking for more resources because they
Mhm.
like the Five Keys framework, I enjoy creating systems around it to try to meet that need. And so that's how it's really expanded based on what our colleagues have asked
Right.
for and the feedback they've given me.
I love that. If for someone who's not familiar with the five keys, what are the five keys and what problem does each of those keys solve?
Yeah, so the five keys are the speaker, the listener, the environment, technology, and practice. And they work together to really solve the issue of the patient expecting the hearing aids to do everything. So it's all the same things that we have already been educating our patients about: communication strategies, environmental modifications, that kind of a thing. But it puts it into a systematic framework that's easier for them to remember. And it really engages the patient so that they take some responsibility for their treatment process. They realize, I always tell my patients, notice that technology is key number four. The first three
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
keys,
like that.
speaker,
Yeah,
listener, environment,
love
those have
that.
to be addressed first before the technology can do its job. And then practice is the fifth key, because what you learn is not going to stick immediately. You have to keep practicing and working at it. So yeah, they all kind of work together.
Mhm.
I like that. What do you think? Which key gets ignored the most, do you think? And what's the cost of that being ignored?
I think probably the speaker key gets ignored the most, because if that communication partner, the spouse or the child or whoever, if they're not at the appointment, then they're not getting educated about their role in the treatment process. And oftentimes the speaker, the communication partner is half the problem. They're
Yeah.
maybe they have a soft voice, or they speak from the other room, or they speak really fast, and they're blaming the listener, who's our patient. They're blaming that person that it's all their fault, when
Mhm.
really half of the
Don't you have
onus
your
lays
hearing
on
aids
them.
on? Don't
Yeah,
you have your
yeah.
Right.
hearing aids on? That's okay.
Exactly. Those hearing aids don't work for you, that kind of
Yes.
Yeah.
thing. And it's like, well, they're not miracle workers. And if you're going to keep whispering from the bathroom, or when your
Yeah.
when your spouse is at the sink with the water running, then the
Yeah.
hearing aids can't do their job.
No. I've heard it twice
Mhm.
today of two
Oh,
patients said
yeah.
I couldn't hear my wife when she was in the laundry room, and one was when my wife was unloading the dishwasher. And she was like, well, my head was down in the dishwasher when I was talking. I don't know if you should hear that or not. And I'm like, I probably wouldn't hear that either as a normal hearer. So, such a
Mhm.
great
Mhm.
framework. How would you say a
Yeah.
clinic can roll this out on day one, week one? What works in your clinic, and what have you seen work in other
Yeah,
clinics?
for sure. I think what works best for me, and what I think has worked best for many of my customers, is when they jump in with both feet.
Mhm.
So it is an a la carte type of program where you can just get the books, or just get the online program, or just get some handouts, or just do the mobile app. You can pick and choose, but we have an all access program which gives you everything, all parts of the program. And it's I think people are more bought in when they do all of it, and patients see it as a holistic, comprehensive program when everything is going together. They see, oh, there's the bright colors and the cute little dog on the book. Oh, that's the
Yeah, she
same
has a
bright
Mhm.
cute dog
colors.
on the book, Lindsay.
Yeah,
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 my little dog.
uh-huh.
Yeah, we have that kind of branding. And so when they see that branding in multiple places, they see it as a comprehensive
Yeah.
program, not just like, oh, now you're sending me some emails, or now
Mhm.
there's a little app or whatever. But it's all goes together. And I think it gives value. And then it gets the staff and the providers on board that this is the program that we're using, and we're going all in, and it's all branded to your practice. So the patient sees your logo along with the Five Keys
That's
branding,
right.
and it goes together. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yes, I love that. So I'll have some patients where I just give them the book because
Mhm.
they don't have apps, they don't really go on the
Mhm.
computer, and so having that as a resource is really good too. But
Mhm.
just in general, because I know we want to move on to some really interesting conversation today too. We are going to just feature as our Be Curious segment, we're featuring the 5 keys today. So just let's tell people how they can learn about it, how can they can get a hold of you, ask any questions regarding your program.
Okay, well, thank you for featuring that. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
So my website is 5keys.org. It's the number five, the word keys, KEYS.org. And all the information is on there about how to order. It's very, very clear. You can order as I said, a la carte. You can just get one or two books if that's what you'd like to start with. You can get handouts that are very inexpensive, or you can do the whole program, which is more of a subscription basis. And also, if you go to my website, there's a place where you can download a free toolkit that has all kinds of great resources centered around the 5 keys, like a little placemat and a
Yeah.
successful communication plan, and just tools that you can use in your office for absolutely free. I mean, I want this to be a resource that anybody can use, just a simple framework. And then if you want to buy materials to go with it, you can. But I really want this to be a tool that makes education and counseling easier for our patients and for clinicians. So there's some free stuff on there too.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
want to just add one last thing for that. I know recently you just did a webinar about people might want to know, well, what's the difference between the 5 keys and LACE? And,
Mhm.
why would you pick one or over the other, or would you pick both of those? So we're not going to focus a lot on that now, but I know that webinar is available,
Mhm.
and people can also listen to that to learn a little bit more about the differences, right? Dusty?
Yeah, it actually wasn't a webinar. It was just kind of a newsletter that I
Oh,
put out
oh,
about
okay.
it. Yeah,
Why did I
but
think it
there
was a
is a
webinar? I'm
page.
sorry.
No, no, that's okay. There's a page on the web on my website that kind of describes the difference between the
Mhm.
two. But the short answer is I do think they go hand in hand. They really
Mhm.
complement each other very much, and I do use both in my clinic also. Mhm.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think
fun.
they're both great.
Thank you
All
for
right.
highlighting 5 keys, Dusty. I feel like
Yes,
I
thank
need
you.
to
And
learn
thank you
more
for
and
creating it.
I need to look at the tools. I love when audiologists share the resources. It's like no need to recreate the wheel when somebody's done something that works. So thank you
Yeah.
for teaching us all about that.
You
Noelle, you
bet.
want
Thank
to take
you.
us into the next
Yeah.
segment?
So the next segment of this, we're kind of transitioning and pivoting into a whole different segment. But a few years ago, Dusty came to one of our, well, she's a part of Entheos, but she came to a meeting and she shared her story about how she did a pivot from wine a day to being a training to be in a weightlifting competition. And that story was so motivational and so heartwarming. I thought she could come on and tell us a little bit about where she was and then what happened with that. So let's just talk to you a little bit about that, Dusty. When did this is fine turn into I want better? Kind of set us up for your story.
Okay, okay. Well, I mean, I was drinking a lot of wine and it wasn't fine because uh I was in my late 30s at that time and had just started my own practice, and I still had kids at home that I was homeschooling also. And I was really hitting the ground hard with my 5 keys, trying to get that out there. And so I just had a lot going on, as I'm sure all of us can relate to. And I was turning to boxed wine as my
I
kind of
remember that
escape.
box.
Yeah, the Boda box. I
Boda
was,
box, yeah.
yep, I was drinking a lot of boxed red wine, and it wasn't just on the weekend. It was every single day, and I could easily have gone through 4 glasses by 5 o'clock in the afternoon if it was a day that I wasn't in clinic. If it was one of
Mhm.
my days working from home. And that's when I knew it wasn't fine. And it's so easy to do with a box of wine because you
Yeah.
don't see the bottle going down.
Yeah.
You just keep squirting more in your
Mhm.
glass. And my husband and I would joke, we're like, oh, just one more squirt. But a squirt would be like a
Uh-huh.
half a glass of wine more. And when I knew it wasn't fine was, well, there were a few things. One, I knew that it was affecting my job. Like I wasn't as motivated about my responsibilities. I could tell that I was neglecting my kids and, a bit.
Mm-hmm.
They were preteens at that point, but
Right.
they needed attention.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was affecting my marriage. So that was when I knew we had gone from fine to not fine. Yeah.
And so then you turn to bodybuilding. Tell us about that. Weightlifting, bodybuilding. What
Yeah,
was
it
that
seems like
change?
it seems like a really weird thing. I mean, I've always been an athletic person. I've always
Hmm.
liked lifting weights and things, but I was just doing it recreationally for fun. And sadly, there were times when I would go to the gym after I had been drinking. So
Hmm.
that was another thing that showed me like that's not normal. Like that's not
Hmm.
fine. But when I would be drinking, I'd be scrolling through Facebook, just
Yeah.
escaping through
Yes.
social media. And one day I ran across a photo of someone that I went to school with, a gal I went to school with in high school, and she was competing in a figure competition. And I was like, holy cow. I mean, she was ripped and she looked smoking hot. And I was like, what? And she was not an athlete. And
Yeah.
in high school that I remember, I'm like, how did she get this strong and
Hmm.
looking this great? And so I actually messaged her because I'm a little buzzed at this point, so I send her a
I was
message
going to
like,
say,
"How's
while
it
you were
Yeah.
drinking.
Yeah.
yeah, drinking, messenger on
Tell
my
me
phone.
more.
How'd you get so smoking hot?" Yeah, and she told me I got a trainer. This was called a figure competition that I was in, and I used a trainer. So I was like, "What's your trainer's name?" I literally messaged the trainer
Yeah.
at that time. So
All
I
in.
mean,
Yeah.
I was all like I don't know if I had done this all sober, but in the end it was probably a good thing. So I literally made that decision like I'm going to do that because she had to use such strict discipline, I could tell, to
Yeah.
make that transformation with her body. And I was like, I feel like I need that strict discipline in my life right now. And so that's how I went down that path. It was crazy. My husband was like, "You're gonna do what?" I'm like, "Yeah, signed up for a competition and everything."
Oh
He's
my
like, "Oh
God.
my gosh."
All in. All in.
Yeah,
Instant
I was all
decision.
in.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am. I'm like an all or nothing kind of person, which I
Yeah.
think
Right.
was why the drinking got bad because it was
Hmm.
too much,
Yeah.
and but this was all in a healthier direction, I guess.
Yeah. Well, like what two early habits did you have to swap? Like, did you quit drinking completely? Did you just cut down? Did you all of a sudden like switch your eating, or was that like a slow? How did you actually get to that point?
Yeah, well, two things I think were the biggest. One was having a coach to keep
Hmm.
me accountable, and two was having a system that I needed to follow. And I love systems. I'm kind of an
Hmm.
OCD person. So
Hmm.
like you give me a system to follow and I'm going to follow it.
Hmm.
So I did, even though in the beginning I didn't want to stop drinking. And I actually messaged that gal, like, "Do I have to stop drinking in order to do this?" And she was like, "No, but it probably would help, you
Uh-huh.
know. So I did end up stopping because this part of the system was following a macros diet that, the alcohol just brings in too many sugars.
Hmm.
And so I was like, if I'm going to be walking around in a tiny bikini on a stage in front of people, I am going to do this, the right way. And also if I'm going to be spending so much time in the gym lifting so hard, why would I want to ruin that by then going home and having a glass or two of wine and having all those sugars go in and mess up what I had just tried to be building my muscles for. So I did end up stopping entirely just so that I could follow those two. And then my coach was definitely like, "Yeah, drinking isn't really a part of this diet."
Uh-huh.
you
Hmm.
know. And I wanted to be a good student. I've always wanted to be a good student and I wanted to do what the coach said. So,
Yeah, I love that.
mhm.
I feel like one of the hard parts of like being a mom, being a business owner is like the time. Like when did you find time to work out, to
That's a
meal
good
prep?
question.
How did you work that into your life?
Yeah, surprisingly, when you're not spending your afternoon drinking and reading smut
Yeah.
novels,
You
you
actually
know,
have time.
you
Yeah.
actually have some time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you don't go to bed kind of drunk and you don't wake up slightly hungover, there's time at night. So I would go to the gym at night after the kids, either had gone to bed or they were just winding down watching TV. And so I could then go to the gym at 8, work
Hmm.
out from 8 to 9:30,
Hmm.
or I could get up really early because if I wasn't drinking, I felt good in the
Hmm.
morning and
Uh-huh.
I could get up at 5 and go to the gym from 5:30 to 7 or something. So it was about an hour and a half a day in the gym between lifting and cardio.
Hmm.
But you can actually carve out that time when you're not, I
Yeah.
wasn't watching TV.
Hmm.
So, I wasn't binge watching any shows and I wasn't scrolling on Facebook and
Yeah.
you swap out that time that we often justify as, oh, I need this downtime. And that's
Hmm.
how I justified the drinking. I need this downtime. I'm stressed. I was working hard all day. I can have this wine and read my book. Well, I swapped out that time to, for gym time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. And Lindsay, if you, when I didn't know Dusty that well back then, and I looked on Facebook one day and she had her pictures of when she was actually going to the competition. And I was like, oh my gosh, she looked absolutely amazing. I'm like, that's Dusty. Like it was a transformation, because
All
right when
in.
you're getting the competition, you do all the
Oh,
things right
yeah.
before it. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was amazing. But how long did that whole process take for you to kind of make that transition and get fit and do the competition and, kind of get yourself recentered?
Yeah. The first from the time that I saw my friend on Facebook to the time that I did my first competition was 6 months.
Okay.
Which was actually pretty fast. And I don't think I could have
Yeah.
done that had I not been a weightlifter before.
Hmm.
It wasn't like I went from nothing to being
Right.
able
You were
to.
in good shape before too. Yeah.
I was in decent shape, but I also had, wine bod. So I did have to cut a lot of fat during that time, and that's what the diet does. And then I had to lift a lot harder than I ever had before. So those 6 months were to my first competition, and then I actually signed up for two more competitions. So I kept it going for about a year and a half,
Okay.
just taking small breaks in between and then training again. The first competition was a bikini competition, is what they call it. So you're not actually like competing to lift a lot of weight. They're actually just judging your body. And in the bikini class, you can have a little bit of fat. But then my next one was figure. I wanted to work a little harder and get a little bit more muscular. So that was a figure competition. And then my husband actually did one with me
Oh,
after that.
fun.
So we did it together. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Aside from your body looking fit and getting fit and not drinking, what other like positives came from that with your sleep, your mood, your work ethic? What did you see kind of change as a side effect of changing this?
Yeah, so much. I mean, it showed me that I really could be very disciplined, more disciplined than I thought I could be before, mostly because with the diet, because I do like to eat and obviously I
Yeah.
like to drink. And it showed me that, yeah, if I put my mind to it, I can stick to this diet and I
Hmm.
can bring in this much protein into my body
Hmm.
each day. And so the discipline side was really good. Just the physical strength, man, I felt good. I could schlep my books around because I do my own Five Keys books. I ship them and pack them and all that stuff. And they
Hmm.
come in big boxes. And I was like, oh, I could just pull this giant 40-pound box off of a shelf and do what I need. And now I'm like, I'm falling over, of course. But yeah, I mean, it was nice to be physically strong. I
Uh-huh.
will say that, in the end, it wasn't the answer to the drinking thing. And it really, just like with anything in our life, it was a journey. It was part of my journey and I learned lessons. It wasn't the answer to the problems because, just doing a figure competition doesn't mean I'm going to address the issues that were causing me to drink in the first place. So, but it showed me that, that was a good thing about it. There were negative outcomes as well. I mean, I definitely struggled with body dysmorphia after that, as so many people in these
Yeah.
Oh, right.
competitions do,
Hmm.
because you see yourself looking like what
Looking like that.
Noelle described, and
Yeah.
then you go back to looking like a normal human, but your brain thinks you're super fat,
Yeah.
and
Oh. Hmm.
so
Oh,
that
yeah.
that was took some difficulties. And of course, like that didn't fix the issues that I had, the pressures that I was putting on myself, the marriage stuff. So
Mhm.
I did counseling since that time.
Mhm.
That was huge for me.
Mhm.
Really learning about myself, but it was part of the journey. And
Mhm.
and
Right.
that's
And it
what
was
it
the
always
first
is.
step. But
It
Yeah.
was
I
kind of a
also
first step.
know, yeah, and I also know you did introduce alcohol back into your life, but I know, when the way you do it, you don't drink after 6. Like, I don't know if that was just the way that worked for you, but I want people to know that sometimes you can just go through periods of time where the alcohol can be a problem, but there are ways to. I think some people think if I have to cut it out forever, I
Mhm.
just don't think I could do that. But I think there's ways to limit it and to think about it in a different way, but still be able to have it as well. So I think that's a lesson I want people to hear from this is that, you might just be at a point in your life where you're overindulging in it, but there's a way to kind of get back on track for some people, not for everybody. Some
Mhm.
people,
Yeah.
need it to be out completely. But anyway, I feel like that's a good lesson for a lot of us.
Mhm.
It
I
is,
really
it is. And I
appreciate
would
that.
love to just share that a book that helped me a lot is called This Naked Mind
I
by
Mhm.
read
Annie
that. Yes,
Grace. Yeah.
yes.
And so if I do feel like, oh gosh, I feel like I'm, looking forward to a drink every night again or something like that, or I feel like I'm getting in that bad habit again, I'll go listen to her book. I've listened to it 3 times
Mhm.
already, and I'll go listen to it. It just reminds me, it gives me the tools, get that stuff. If a year's gone by and you get back into some bad habits, that's really helped me to go back and keep listening to This Naked Mind.
Is the book
That's good.
about drinking? Is it about
Hmm.
thinking about
Yeah.
drinking less? Oh, neat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's all about that. Yeah.
About how it's not good for like so much it was very eye-opening to me too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like
Hmm.
it keeps you in line.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dusty, for sharing that. We have just a couple rapid fire questions
Mhm.
that we want to ask you, and
Okay.
we can just go through them quick. So, what word describes you and why?
It's so funny because you said this in the very beginning, and efficient. I would say
Oh,
efficient is
Oh, yeah.
definitely the
I
describing
love
word. My
that word for
staff
you.
says, "Yep, efficiency
oh,
is your
Yeah.
superpower." I like to get a lot done in a short amount of time, but I want to do it well.
yeah.
So that's why I love systems so much.
Yeah. Wonderful.
What
I
would you
like
do
that.
if money wasn't a concern?
Hmm. Um, I would go on more humanitarian
Mhm.
hearing trips. I do
Mhm.
love those, but I feel I'm a little restricted right now because of funds.
Mhm.
I would volunteer in more shelters. I'm a huge dog lover. I'd foster more
Oh, yes, she
dogs.
did. She fosters lots of
Yeah,
dogs.
yeah. And I'd have a massive garden that I would have
Mm.
time to
There
actually
you go.
keep
Yeah.
up with.
Maybe in 10 years, right? You get
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah, yep.
And where do you see our profession in 10 years?
Oh, I think it's looking really good for us. I think audiologists are going to be in demand more than ever as these baby boomers are, getting into their 70s and 80s, and our professional services are going to be needed as technology continues to evolve. We're going to be needed to guide these people and help them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree.
What do you think can make our profession better for all?
Um, I think having more media attention on
Mhm.
hearing loss as it's growing a little bit, but I think even more so that those primary care doctors see it and it's more top of mind for them. Like, oh yeah, I need to make sure I'm getting my patients in for their early hearing screenings.
Mhm.
And so that people, the general public, is seeing that hearing loss isn't just about not hearing, that it is
Mhm.
about limiting many other factors,
Mhm.
the link between hearing and cognitive
Yeah.
decline is huge, but also balance issues and just seeing that hearing is not an isolated thing. And if the media keeps picking up on that and
Yeah.
putting it out there, the better.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going in the right direction, I would say. So that's
Mhm.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, Dusty, thank you very much for all your tools and your candor. Being willing to talk about this subject is not easy, and we really appreciate your willingness to share your story with us. I'm sure a lot of other people will too. And it's good to know that if you put your mind on something, you can make it stick. And we really appreciate you being here today, and we hope that a lot of people are able to hear your story and it will make a big difference in some people's lives. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
We
I
Dusty.
will
hope so
link
too.
the 5 keys information below, as well as contact information if anybody wants to reach out to Dusty and share anything with her too. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.